A rom-com sci-fi action film. Let's talk about the new mashup movie, The Gorge. Hey everyone, it's David Starr from Watch Your Past, and I'm here to talk to you about The Gorge, which is coming to Apple TV Plus on February 14th, 2025, just in time for Valentine's Day. This is a Valentine's-ish movie. It has some romantic elements, some comedic elements, and then a whole bunch of action and sci-fi. My hot take is I think you should watch later. Look, I liked the setup to this. I liked the cast. I think it's an interesting concept, but I don't think it was executed as well as some of the elite operatives that are supposed to be in this movie. The romance felt a little bit cheesy. It does take kind of a strange turn, and there's a heavy use of CG. So I think you should check it out eventually. Just wait for it to come to streaming or on demand, which is nice because it's coming to Apple TV Plus. So I guess stream it. If it was in theaters, I wouldn't recommend you go out and watch it, but I guess since it's on Apple TV Plus, go ahead and stream it on your Valentine's Day for a very different kind of night. So all that being said, I'm gonna tell you about the movie, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there'll be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this movie, and you might not, there, but some big surprises along the way. I would turn off when you get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. Let's try and get to those spoilers. So, in the Gorge, you have two highly trained operatives, Levi and Drossa. They're played by Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. They are on opposite sides of this big gorge, and they are just kind of there to watch the gorge. Why are they there? What is in the gorge? And will these two strangely attractive, highly skilled operators maybe start eyeing each other, not just for security? Well, you have to watch the movie to find out. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I like the cast. Look, I like Miles Teller. I think he's a good actor. I think he's fun. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I think together they were a lot of fun. There was some weird accents. There was some, cheesy moments. But overall, look, I like the cast. It's mostly them. There are very few other people. Sigourney Weaver is the only kind of like other main star. So it is really a movie about those two, and it's good that I like both those actors, and they're really fun to watch. Second thing I love the mysterious start. I like the way it started out. You don't really get a lot of information. I like that you didn't know a lot about the movie. You get to learn as the characters learn. And the last thing I loved the slow build-up. Some of the build-up, it was fun to kind of like see this movie evolve into different genres. I liked like I said, I liked the military start. I liked the kind of romantic part of it, although I will go into something I didn't love as much in the romance, in the things I didn't love as much. But overall, I did like how this movie took its time. It didn't really get into like anything a little bit more sinister or more action oriented for like 40 minutes into it, 45 minutes into it. So overall, pretty good start. So all that being said, things I didn't love as much. The first, the romance feels real cheesy. I mean, they kind of ham it up. They're on opposite sides of the gorge. So they kind of communicate with like fun messages. Thankfully, Anya Taylor-Joy's character, even though she's Lithuanian, speaks perfect English and can write very good English. So yay for their romance, but it felt insanely cheesy. Like these very highly skilled military operatives are like writing notes to each other and they're doing funny dances, and like it felt very piled on. So again, I liked the way that this movie kind of like merged different genres. I thought that was fun, but I didn't love that part of it. Second thing I didn't love as much, it takes a very strange turn. This movie feels like almost two completely separate movies, which I guess is part of like a fusion kind of movie, but it really is kind of straddling a bunch of different genres, and I don't really know if it's doing it that well. The third thing I didn't love as much, some really bad CG. I mean, a lot of this movie CG. You got pretty much I think most of the setting is CG, and then also like the entire second half of the movie is basically CG, and all the antagonists are very obviously CG. So if that is a thing for you, if that, is something that throws you off of a movie, this is not going to be for you. And the last thing I didn't love as much, it's just kind of pretty cheesy overall. Like, it feels like everything is piled on. The romance is piled on. The action is piled on. The conclusion is piled on. Like, everything feels, it almost feels like a romance movie, but then also like a summer blockbuster action movie. So it isn't the best, but again, it's enjoyable enough to just kind of stream it if you've got Apple TV Plus and you've got the time. So all that being said, The Gorge comes to Apple TV Plus on February 14, 2025. I think you should watch it later. Wait for it to come to streaming. If you've got Apple TV Plus, go ahead and stream it. If you don't have Apple TV Plus, I wouldn't run out and get Apple TV Plus just for this. There's a lot of good stuff on Apple TV Plus, so it might be worth it overall, but this is not a movie that's going to tip the scales. So If you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. I'm going to really quickly go into a recap. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there'll be spoilers. So in the Gorge, you've got two operatives. You've got Levi, played by Miles Teller, who is an ex-Marine, really great sniper, really patriotic guy, really kind of like wonderful person who's seen some stuff. So he was in the Marine Corps, got out, has been like doing private contracts since, but he always comes back if the Marine Corps calls. I don't really know if that's how it works, but it seems to work in this movie. And so they call him for this mission where he has to go and guard this like gorge from this large watchtower, kind of like a fire watch, essentially. So he gets dropped in. On the other side, you've got Drassa, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. She is a Lithuanian operator. She is a really good sniper. It starts with her sniping someone. I was like, oh, I thought this was like a romantic movie. And it starts with Drassa sniping an oligarch from real far away. Unfortunately, I guess a picture was taken of her in this, and so she has to go into hiding. So she gets this other special operation where she is going to guard this other tower on the other side of this gorge. And that are our two unlikely heroes guarding this watchtower, observing each other from different sides of the world. They're both here for 1 year. They have to like check in every 30 days with their bosses, HQs, whatever, to make sure they're still alive. But their goal is to guard the gorge, keep the defenses up, make sure whatever's in the gorge doesn't get out. So they have a lot of free time and they decide, you know what? Maybe I'll start flirting with each other. So they start like writing letters to each other, like writing like short notes, like questions and things like that. On a Drossa has like a notepad. Levi has like a whiteboard and they start like writing notes, kind of like the Taylor Swift love story song where, they're in the windows. It also actually feels very much like love story, to be honest, because they're at opposite sides. They're using their binoculars and their scopes to see what they're writing and then doing silly things. At one point, Drossa just like puts on music and starts dancing, which again felt real cheesy. I don't really know if a Lithuanian sniper would do that. Maybe they would. But again, it felt very, very cheesy. But eventually, Drossa asks him to dance, and he's like, "No, I'm not a good dancer." She's like, "What are you good at?" He's like, "I'm a pretty decent shot." And so she's like, "Prove it." And she puts a bottle of champagne up on a rail on the other side, in her watchtower, and basically she wants him to shoot it. He's like, "No, we're not supposed to engage," something like that. He's like, "No, no." And then as he's leaving, she snipes his water bottle from across the way. And you would think he'd be like, "Oh God, I'm under attack." But no, he's just like, "Oh, that was so funny." He. And then she, decides to turn in and he snipes that champagne bottle from across the way. And they're not using sniper rifles here. They're using like ARs essentially with minor scopes. It's a very impressive shot. A very, very impressive shot. But he snipes the champagne bottle, which is interesting because from the angle, it seems like that bullet would go right into her living quarters, which wouldn't be good. There's no blowback here. There's no ricocheting bullets. It's just cute sniper foreplay. So after this, they start to kind of like communicate more. They, eye each other as they're doing their rounds, things like that. And eventually, uh, Drassa has a bad day. I think it's the day maybe her father died. And so she's like crying on the other side. And Levi's like, are you okay? She's like, oh, it's just a hard day for me. And she's like, I wish you were here. He says, like, I wish I was there. She's like, I wish you were here. And so Levi thinks, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I will abandon my post, go spend time with the enemy, and abandon my mission. So he makes a sweet, like, grappling hook thing from an RPG that he fires across the gorge and then zip lines or whatever you call it, repels, I'm not sure exactly what the word is, but uses some declips to like go across the gorge, gets there, they hit it off, they have a lovely night, they have dinner, it's very, very cute. But their mission, they have had a mission during this. Like the gorge, they have to defend the gorge. I should have probably talked a little more about the gorge. The gorge is this large, massive crater. It has walls on both sides. The walls have automatic miniguns on them. There's mines preventing whatever is going up from the gorge from getting up there. And there are cloaking devices around the gorge to make sure that this is not visible from any sort of satellite or even from the air. So it is a highly defended place. We don't really know why. So now back to the romance. So after their lovely night, Levi decides to go back, and so he zip lines across. But as he's going, some of those things from down below start attacking the gorge, and one of the bombs blows up. The shrapnel, slides away and like cuts Levi's cable that he is using, and he goes to the gorge. Now, Drassa, without even thinking, jumps in right after him to go save him. They both end up in the gorge, and this is when this turns into more of like an action movie. It's kind of a mysterious action movie. They're now in the gorge. It's foggy, it's strange, and they get attacked by lots of different things. So the first thing that attacks them is this like big centipede. And you're like, oh, maybe it's like a prehistoric thing. But no, then they get attacked by like a plant man riding a horse. And you're like, what is going on? Why is there a plant man riding a horse? They're able to shoot him down, and they realize that this plant man is wearing a 1940s military uniform. And this is apparently a 1940s soldier on horseback. It's an old cavalry soldier from the 40s. It is definitely not the 40s right now. It is current time. So how is this thing alive? How is this thing doing this? You don't know. But what we do know is that in the 1940s, there were 3 battalions that were sent into the gorge to try to destroy whatever was in here. There's something in here that was bad. They tried to destroy it. None of them ever made it out alive. It looks like they got either attacked or transformed into plant men. Okay. So they realize they've got to get out of the gorge. They don't really know where to go, but they know on the east wall there is a cable that goes all the way down because that is Levi's cable that was cut. So they think maybe if they make it over there, they can get out. They keep exploring. They find like a church building. So they go inside, and inside they see a bunch of bodies that look like they killed themselves. It was some sort of suicide pact. So they realize like, why did all these people commit suicide here? What could have caused them to want to take their own lives? And then they find out because this church gets attacked. First, there are like spiders with skulls on their faces, and then more plant men attack. Drassa and Levi fight them off. They are super soldiers, so they're using guns to fight them off. Boom, 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 boom. Eventually, Drassa uses a grenade to open a hole in the back of the church, and they flee there. They eventually make it into some sort of like research facility where they find an old film reel that tells them what is happening here. It turns out that this gorge was like a chemical weapons research area. While the Manhattan Project was happening during World War II, this gorge was researching chemical weapons, and apparently they made a very, very bad chemical weapon, one that can cause DNA to like mutate and combine with other DNA around it. So very dangerous. You would hope that would never get out. And unfortunately, it did. There was this big earthquake that broke all the canisters of this chemical thing. It leaked out into the air, and that is causing chaos. People who are exposed, if you're exposed for more than like a few hours, you start to get mutations. Eventually, within 5 days, the mutations will happen, and then you will like transform into something else. And I was like, this could be a really cool thing. Like you could have like all sorts of weird combined DNA people. Nope, nope. You get skull spiders, centipedes, and plantmen. Those are the 3 things. I was like, this could be really cool. You have like birdmen that can fly, and like, I don't know, other weird genetic changing things like a boar man, like essentially Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But nope, you get plantmen, spiders, and centipedes. So while they're watching this, they also find this self-destruction protocol, this like thing that is supposed to be a failsafe for the gorge, and if it's activated, a atomic bomb will drop and blow up everything within a 4.2 kilometer radius. I don't know why they're using kilometers, but I'm pretty sure this is an American project, but that's what they use. And so we find out a few different things. Now, after this, they're like, we gotta fight our way out. We gotta get out of here. They've been exposed for a few hours, so they're worried about getting mutated. So they pack up and leave. But unfortunately, Drassa dropped the ammo bag when she was coming into this research facility. Silly Drassa. And so she goes to pick it up. But when she picks it up, oh no, a trap. It like ensnares her leg. She is dragged by a horseback riding plant man. And Levi goes and pursues. Now, eventually, that horseback riding plant man takes her to like a missile silo where he attacks her. She is able to cut the rope and fight him off. She fights back, but she's not quite strong enough. Thankfully, Levi is apparently very fast because he gets there in not much more time than the horse took, and he helps her defeat this plant man. They are saved. They're trying to figure out how they get out. How do we get out of here? Drassa finds out that she doesn't have the like pulley thing that would have helped them ascend the cable, but thankfully they have old Jeeps here, and those old Jeeps have like winches that essentially would perform the same thing. Hopefully, this cable is strong enough because I think they only secure it to a tree for a person's weight, and now it's going to have to carry a Jeep and two people. They find a Jeep, they start up the Jeep. Thankfully, this old Jeep's gas is still good. I don't know how it's still good because it's a very old Jeep, but hey, sure, that's fine. I mean, if I leave my gas in my lawnmower without stabilizer for like 6 months, it doesn't start. But maybe all the gas here has stabilizer, sure. So they drive the Jeep over. They are fighting off plant men left and right as they're going. They get to the cable, they hook it up, they start ascending the gorge. As they're ascending, more plant men attack. They have to fight them off. Eventually, those plant men, almost get Levi, but he's holding on to the Jeep. They're able to fight them off. They use some of the propane in the Jeep to like light the plant men on fire. That then comes and like blows the Jeep up from the back. Thankfully, everyone's okay. And Drossa cuts the cable so the Jeep falls on the plantman and they are finally safe. So now that they're out safe, now that they're finally safe, and also thankfully the safeguards didn't think the Jeep or they were foreign people because they didn't start up the miniguns, but hey, maybe they have special trackers. I'm not sure. Maybe they're really good image sensors. I don't know. But they're now back. They're safe. Drossa uses a grappling gun that she had to go let Levi go across the gorge. But before they leave, they make a plan to prevent this from happening to other people. What they realize is that the people who are guarding this, they pick people who are expendable. So Levi has no connections. He has no family. No one will miss him. So they chose him for the west side. Drossa was a sniper, but she kind of had to disappear because she was made. So they chose her for the east side. What they do is they bring an east and a west person over to guard the gorge. It's like the secret underground alliance. And then after that, they kill the person so the secret doesn't get out, and they pick a new expendable person to guard the gorge for a year. So Levi and Drossa don't want this to happen to anyone else, so they make a plan to prevent this in the future. And then Levi heads back to his tower for the radio check. During the radio check, they ask if Levi went to the research facility. Like, I didn't do it. Like, well, if you didn't do it, it must be your counterpart. So we want you to take out your counterpart. And Levi's like, okay, consider done. But the people in charge, mainly Sigourney Weaver, know that Levi and Drossa are already together. There was a camera that showed both of them together. So they realize that Levi and Drossa are probably compromised, and so they go to take them both out. Now, Levi and Drossa the next morning are doing something. They plant mines on something, and they are laying some cable around the gorge. And during this time, earlier, Levi, before he'd gone across the gorge, told Drossa that he loved her, which I was like, dude, that's a little early, man. I mean, like, they've known each other for a bit, but they've only seen each other, like, they've only been on one date at this point, and then they went to the gorge, which I guess was a pretty traumatic experience, so maybe that's what did it, but a little too soon, Levi. But I guess to his credit, the next day, when they're laying all these traps, Drossa writes back, I love you too. So, very sweet. But then a helicopter comes and they realize that they are made, and so they run to start executing their plan. A helicopter activates some drones that go and start attacking them. Thankfully, Levi and Drossa are excellent snipers and they're able to snipe the drones out. Fun fact, this is like the only sniping they do. All the other times they shoot, they're using like ARs. It's more close quarters combat. This is one of the few times they actually do snipe, which is interesting because they're like world-renowned snipers. You'd think that they would be better at laying traps and like setting up things. But no, they're mostly just super soldiers. But they do snipe these drones, and they head up to their locations to observe. The team gets to Levi's tower, looks around, doesn't see anything, doesn't see him, and that is when we see both Levi and Drossa take their shots. They both hit the various mines that they were laying, and that causes these things to blow up, and all the cloaking towers around the gorge blow up. So now the gorge is like exposed to the outside world, which activates the that protocol, that failsafe protocol, which means an atomic bomb is going to drop and blow up everything within 4.2 miles. Levi and Drossa start running. Levi's a little slower than Drossa because he has a leg injury. The strike team at the West Tower says, we gotta go, we gotta go. They jump in a helicopter and they try to get out of there too. Now the bomb goes off. Drossa is okay because she is fast enough. She gets within a safe radius. The helicopter seems like it's gonna be okay, but then the blowback from the bomb causes them to collide into a mountain, so they're all gone. Levi seems like he's running, but the force of the bomb pushes him off of a mountain ledge into some water. So as far as we don't know if Levi's okay. Drossa quarantines herself for 5 days. She counts down 5 days, waiting for Levi. He doesn't show up, so eventually she moves on. This was in February. Fast forward to March. Drossa is in France. She's looking around for Levi. He's not there. Fast forward to April. Drossa is serving drinks and food at this restaurant. And wouldn't you know it, Levi shows up. I don't know how he knew where to find her. I don't know how. They did say that she knew a place in France, so maybe she told him roughly where it was, but he just shows up. Drossa seems happy to see him. They kind of reconnect quickly. He said, sorry, I was injured, so I was delayed a little bit. And then they smile, they talk sniping for a little bit because that's what they bonded, and then they kiss, and everyone's happy. Yay! What a wonderful ending. So that is the Gorge. Like I said, it feels very cheesy. It's entertaining enough, but to me, it kind of like was a little bit too over the top, a little bit too piling on. I do kind of wish the ending was a little bit different. It ended a little bit too cleanly for me. Like feel like one of them should have gotten infected. And then there would be an interesting, dramatic, emotional choice of what do they do? Do they try to fight it? Does someone have to like cut off their arm? Do they have to do something to stop the infection? What do they do? None of that. They both escape the gorge basically unscathed, and they both escape the wrath of this private corporation that was watching the gorge from trying to eliminate them. They did take out like high-ranking officials here. They did take out like soldiers. You'd think that they would go and try to like get revenge. But no, they're safe. They're in France. They are together. Everything works out. And like I also wish that there was a little more variety in these enemies because you could have had a whole bunch of cool different things like different mutated DNA combined things attacking each other. But no, you didn't have any of that. You had plant men, skull spiders, and centipedes. Oh, and also plant horses. So that is the Gorge. Like I said, I think you should watch it later. Wait for it to come to streaming or on demand. But if you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.